Your feminine power gives you an enormous advantage at work, but it's been weaponized against you with negative stereotypes and by vilifying your advantages. In this video, we're going to flip those stereotypes into your success accelerators to get you exactly what you want. Have you ever been frustrated at work that people think that you're dumb? Lately, there has been a lot of talk about pretty privilege, but what no one is talking about is how it makes people think that you're an idiot. It's not possible to be hot and smart. In my early corporate days, this drove me mad. And basically every woman I have ever worked with has had the same problem. Most end up overcompensating, trying to be taken seriously, and have their competence recognized, which is an uphill battle. And it's one that ends up in a double bind, because then people complain that you take yourself too seriously. There is a better approach, mastered by one of the most successful women of this millennium, Paris Hilton. When Paris booked The Simple Life, she created a character. This character would skyrocket her career, launch multiple businesses, and make her hundreds of millions of dollars. Paris was already a tabloid regular, especially leading up to The Simple Life's premiere. And she knew people made a lot of assumptions about her. As an heiress, people assumed that she had lived a charmed life, that she was disconnected from reality, and of course that all she is a rich, dumb blonde. Paris did not challenge any of those assumptions. Her character reflected them. Did it matter that those assumptions made people feel like they were superior to her in some way? Nope. Paris proved how smart she was by playing dumb. The character she created gave her a platform to be paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for appearances, launch an extremely successful fragrance business, and star in multiple TV shows. While people wrote her off, 20 years later, Paris is still an icon and a household name. And the power she cultivated by playing dumb has enabled her to do the work that matters most to her. Since revealing the abuse and trauma she endured in a youth residential treatment facility, she has become a powerful advocate. Earlier this year, she went super viral for switching between her persona and her real self, with a very notable difference in both her voice and her demeanor.
Later. But I think the most important thing is
Paris knows the power of meeting the stereotype to move it. By projecting an image that reflects the assumptions about her, Paris disarms people. Let's face it, nothing scares men more than a hot, smart woman. She leveraged the assumption that she was dumb to make herself likable. And when she was liked, she was able to present her smart and powerful self without triggering anyone's defenses. Hopefully one day we'll get to a point that women just get the default respect and esteem that men do. But until then, let them underestimate you. They won't notice as you build your power, your position, and your influence. Looking into my crystal ball, I know there will be a few toxic men talking to themselves in my comments. But she is dumb. Women aren't as smart as men. Which brings me to the second stereotype we're going to use to our advantage. Standard IQ tests measure a specific type of intelligence. Something you learn in Psychology 101 is that the results don't really mean very much. IQ tests measure spatial, mathematical, and analytical abilities. Researchers have found that on average, men score about 4 points higher than women on these tests. Now, I could criticize the test itself, the flimsiness of 4 points, and the plethora of problems with standardized testing. But instead, we need to talk about the type of intelligence, which is a key predictor of professional success and personal success, quite frankly. Researchers have found that this type of intelligence boosts morale and productivity by 20%, improves decision-making, and improves leadership in the workplace. Of course, we are talking about emotional intelligence. If you've never heard of emotional intelligence before, it is your ability to understand both your emotions and the emotions of the people around you. Intellectual inequity is not limited to the analytical intelligence that IQ tests measure. It expands to emotional intelligence. While women are raised being told that math isn't their thing, even when it is, we are also taught to embrace and express emotions, both our own and others. In fact, I would venture to say that a huge onus is put on girls to be hyper aware of the emotional state of the people around them, From caretaking to protecting ourselves from danger, this awareness is demanded across each realm of our lives. The research behind the importance of emotional intelligence is crucial. It is what allows you to understand the needs of others, establish relationships in the workplace, and show up in a way that serves you. Again, I think that Paris Hilton is another great example of emotional intelligence. Her EI is so high. Going back to the beginning of her career, it is what enabled her to understand exactly how the media wanted to portray her and how people wanted to perceive her. There is little likable about a dumb, out-of-touch heiress, but while she played the role, it was not who she was, which is why she earned a faithful audience early on. If you've seen her TikTok account, she now regularly puts her emotional intelligence on display. I personally love her reaction videos that she makes for fan content. It is also a great example of how emotional intelligence can endear you to your critics. Several months ago, she shared a picture of her adorable little kids strapped into their car seats. Sweet, right? But every overbearing parent, myself included, gasped. They weren't strapped in correctly and they were facing the wrong way. And with the internet being the internet, a lot of people had a lot of things to say about that. But instead of getting defensive, Paris thanked people for bringing it to her attention. Her emotional intelligence enabled her to see through the internet outrage to what really mattered. People wanted to make sure that her children were safe. She acknowledged and appreciated this, even if it wasn't expressed in the kindest of ways. It was also extremely effective in shutting down the critics immediately. Obviously, I talk a lot about toxic work culture on my channel, and these are workplaces where emotional intelligence is extremely low. Okay, maybe it doesn't exist at all. And leadership is empathy deficient. So I want you to think about how your empathy and your emotional intelligence give you a professional advantage. I want you to think about the situations and scenarios where you can flex it, especially in a conspicuous way. Which brings me directly to the third stereotype that you are going to use to your advantage. This one has probably been weaponized against you. It comes naturally to you, yet you're blamed and shamed for it until you go to a significant effort not to do this one thing. But if you ignored all that noise, it would get you exactly what you want and more. Attract attention. You attract attention for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's because you're the only woman in the room. Sometimes it's because you messed up. Sometimes it's because you accomplished something major. No matter the situation, use that attention. No one does this better than Kim Kardashian. Give Kim any type of attention and she is going to use it to her advantage. It does not matter if Kim Kardashian is getting pressed for something good, something bad, or something completely benign. She will use that attention to build her brand and her bank account. It doesn't hurt that she has Kris Kardashian pulling all the strings, which if you want a video breaking down how she has made her family billions of dollars, let me know in the comments. So many people have a misperception that they can get attention for the wrong reasons. Probably because they've heard things like this. You can't wear that, you'll get the wrong kind of attention. Beyond that, most people have a massive fear of failure. If you're going to fuck up, you don't want anyone to know about it. So you do your best to fly under the radar at work. You don't do, say, or wear anything that will attract attention towards you. But the result is this. You made yourself invisible, which is way harder to recover from than making a mistake and having people notice it at work. So I want you to learn this lesson from Kim. There is no such thing as good or bad attention. There is simply attention and how you capitalize on it. Stop being afraid of being called an attention seeker for stepping up to take on new challenges, gain recognition for your work, or having eyes on you just for being your charismatic self. All humans need attention. You are not bad and you are not broken for wanting or expecting it, especially when you work your ass off and deal with all sorts of BS at work. Of course, when you're willing to accept attention to drive towards your ambitious career goals, something else is gonna happen. You have two options at work. Be the nice girl you're expected to be, or be a bad bitch. To be the nice girl, you have to let people have whatever they want, whether that's taking credit for your work or not speaking up for yourself. You will be easy to work with because you'll do what you're told to do. You will not push back. You'll be the team player who takes on the work that no one else is willing to. You will not be respected, but you'll be liked. If you're a bad bitch, you're the bulldozer. You'll be told that you are bossy, that you are abrasive, that you are difficult to work with. You will unapologetically take charge, hold people accountable, and speak up both for yourself and for others when you see injustice in the workplace. You will be respected, but you will not be liked. Thing is, no matter how kind, conscientious, and competent you are, refusal to be anything other than a doormat puts you in the bad bitch category. So why not embrace it? This is something the whole Kardashian family has done well. They know if they are going to engage their audience and keep attention, they need to have villain arcs.
She's the least exciting to look at.
To be honest, I'm not a Kardashian fan. They're just inescapable. So I unwillingly know way too much about their lives. That said, I can admire their strategy, and they absolutely use controversy to their advantage. Whether it's making comments like,
Nobody wants to work these days.
the Kardashians, but in my opinion, Kim in particular, is unafraid of backlash because backlash has made her a billionaire, allegedly at least. Which brings me to a question. Is it really that bad to be called bossy, abrasive, or difficult if it means you are getting the career opportunities you want, shutting down your toxic coworkers so they don't try you again, or keeping your work-life balance in check? I'm not saying that you need to be mean or go out of your way to be difficult, but being able to embrace a little bit of villainy can go a long way. After all, you are playing the long game, which brings me directly to the next point. If we think back to the reality TV stardom of the 2000s, that fame for the most part was fleeting and not necessarily lucrative, especially for reality stars that relied on controversy like Kim and Paris. A perfect example of this is Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt. P.S. I love her, I cannot stand him. They made a decent amount of money while they were starring on The Hills. They made themselves tabloid regulars, but they were wildly unsuccessful in turning it into anything beyond that because they were never able to pivot their brand beyond that. Kim and Paris, on the other hand, they let you think what you wanted to think about them to write them off as being famous for being famous. But behind the scenes, they built incredibly successful careers. Paris Hilton's fragrances have reportedly generated more than $2 billion in revenue, and Kim Kardashian's Skims brand is currently valued at $4 billion. They embrace the stereotypes to be non-threatening and build their platforms. Then, almost without people even noticing, they became powerful business women. They have also both used their platforms for positive change. Paris in speaking out against the abuse happening in youth residential treatment facilities. And Kim has become an advocate for prison reform, but let's bring this back to you, bestie. Most of us won't do anything near the scale of Kim or Paris. But what can you do while people underestimate you? Think of ways that you can begin to pivot your professional brand to achieve your goals. Of course, there is one massive obstacle that stands in the way of all of this. You care what other people think about you. Until you detach, you will struggle with the stereotypes and obstacles in the way. So I want you to go watch this video next to learn exactly how to detach from other people's opinions. I will see you there.